UAP are airborne objects that, when encountered, cannot be immediately identified. With regard to the importance of transparency, the Department is fully committed to the principle of openness and accountability to the American people.
We're going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Oh my gosh, dude.
U.S. Navy personnel recorded what appears to be triangles, some flashing. The video was taken through night vision goggles with a single lens reflex camera.
Well, I would say, it's a pretty high-profile incident. I don't claim to be an expert. You're the guys investigating it. I mean, who else is doing it?
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to UFO We Want to Know. I'm your host, Joseph. In today's video, we're going to be showing essentially a lot of pictures, a lot of storytelling, and then we got one video at the end, which I think you're going to find extremely interesting. Let's begin the show with our beginning topic, and that is with the Betty and Barney Hill story. Now, if you've ever heard about this couple, this goes back to 1961 in the White Mountains of New Hampshire, and it was a late night in September, so it was probably pretty cold, and they were driving for miles and miles coming back from Canada. It was a honeymoon trip, and what's interesting about this particular couple is they were interracial. It was an interracial marriage, and at that time, 1961, as you know from our past history, it wasn't a good time to have an interracial marriage. So it was kind of tough, but they were both very intelligent people. Barney worked for the post office, and Betty was a social worker. Now, while driving south on U.S. Highway 3 through the White Mountains, they were close to what they call Indian Point. And as they drove through, it was interesting, the sequence that they had recorded when they were under hypnosis was that there's missing time. So things jump back and forth. You can't just take the story that they gave and complete it through, because so many people had jumped into the phenomenon. It became a worldwide phenomenon when these two first told their story. Now, Barney was the one who did not want anything to do with this. Betty was troubled by it. It took her more as an emotional thing than Barney. I think Barney regretted the fact that his life was interrupted. They were taken aboard a craft by beings. They said it was anywhere from 3 to 4 feet tall, grayish, large almond eyes. And as they were taken from their car to the UFO, they were taken to an examination room where they were going through medical procedures, including taking skin, nails, and hair samples. The aliens gave Betty what they called a pregnancy test by inserting a long needle into her navel. They took sperm from Barney. So they're interested in our reproductive areas, evidently, they were doing this. The photo you're seeing right now is a sign that's in that particular area where it happened, and you can see that on Highway 3. Now, a lot of interesting things happened to Betty, not so much Barney, because I think she was more open to it than Barney was. When she discussed what happened to her to the psychologist, they asked her why she was so emotional, and she said the needle hurt when it was going through her belly button. And that test was not done in the time that they were taken. This was 1961. And in the 60s, the only way to get a pregnancy test was to make an appointment with a doctor and give a urine sample and wait up to 2 weeks. So Betty had told the what she called the leader of the aliens that that's no pregnancy test that they've ever seen. And I believe it was 6 or 7 years later they discovered that they can get, I believe it's called amniotic fluid, out of the woman's womb to get a test. So many people have jumped on the bandwagon about Betty and Barney Hill, and they've gone so as far as to claim that, well, maybe Bigfoot came from the saucer. Just incredibly ignorant things that debunkers, skeptics have nothing else to do but criticize people. And on another note, I'll be doing a sequel on Bigfoot and where I believe they come from. But the critics jumped on the bandwagon, as I said, and they tried their own spin. And by doing that, they created a real issue for the Betty and Barney Hill story. Because if there's money to be made, you're gonna make money. And a lot of these critics were very, very tough on the Betty and Barney Hill story and what they had to say. It's I call them sick people, these skeptics and debunkers. They have nothing better to do but to make fun of people who went through a traumatic experience. The aliens thought it was interesting about the color skin of Barney versus Betty. They also were intrigued about his teeth that came out of his mouth. He wore dentures. The star map that Betty had drawn, debunkers came out by the hundreds and were critical of her, saying that she's not an astronomer and she wouldn't know left from her right and this and that. Again, debunkers, skeptics. But the fact that they did, in turn, find a map very, very close to that. Now, nobody's going to be exact. If you draw a picture of a star system, you can study a star system for years and years and years. And then by freehand, try to draw that star system. You're not going to get all the stars right. That's something they never say. They always say things like, well, it's not, this particular star wasn't even close to being on an actual star map. Well, of course not. You're not going to get everything right. A human mind does not work like a computer. It doesn't work like a photograph. So by criticizing Betty for putting up a star map, they were just showing their ignorance. For all the debunkers and critics out there who think that they can make money off of people who have gone through a traumatic experience, someday you may go through one yourself, and if people make fun of you, don't blame them because you do it all the time. It's just, I consider it an adolescent thing. On the next segment here, we're going to be talking about Tivoli Village, where I was at this weekend. And this is where the photos that I'm going to be showing you took place. And I think you're going to find this very interesting. And I discovered something while I was out there. So getting back to Betty and Barney Hill before the segment ends, I do want to say this. I'm a believer in the phenomenon of abduction. Now, I can never say that I was abducted, but I can say this, that when people tell me this happened to them, that happened to them, I take it as a real story, a true story. I'm not gullible, but I look at what people say because I've experienced things that I can't explain. I know they weren't dreams. I know that I was wide awake. I was very conscientious about my surroundings. And when people tell me that this happened to them, missing time, they thought they saw something in the sky they can't explain, I take it at a serious note. And I'm not trying to get everybody to believe the way I believe. And the reason why is because every person is different. Your belief systems are different. We believe in different issues that sometimes make other people angry. Not all religions agree with other religions. Therefore, you have wars that have started because of that. I believe there's more wars that have started because of religion than anything else. Not discounting the monarchies of the world who created so many terrible wars. Religion is probably the worst. But in saying that, I'm a religious person myself. I've never given up my Christianity. I love studying other religions, cultures. And the reason why is because of the fact that if you don't study them, you can't get a clear understanding of where people are coming from. It's so important because you have people that may come to you and discuss something and you know nothing about it. But by opening up, you can find an understanding more easily. So when these debunkers and critics criticize Betty and Barney Hill for what happened to them, and there's so much proof that shows that something happened to Betty and Barney Hill in 1961, that it caused such a ruckus amongst the people who want to keep those things secret, including the governments. The governments know that there is a program out there where human beings are able to be abducted, tested, but brought back safely. That's the agreement. Brought back safety. I'm going to be doing a segment on that particular program in upcoming videos also, because I think that's a real fascinating area of the phenomenon that has to do with UFOs. And if you looked at my videos in the past, you see that I just don't do UFOs flying across the sky or photos. A couple of weeks ago, I did my alien skull. I get into everything and anything that's not on what we consider the normal. If you out there want me to present something, please write in to UFOWeWantToKnow@gmail.com, and I'll put a show together for you. We'll be back after this message. Hi, I'm Joseph from UFO We Want to Know, and I'm here to tell you about the tumbler lady at the farmer's market at Tractor Supply in Pahrump every Saturday from 8:30 a.m. to 12 noon. These tumblers are locally made and have specialized designer toppers. Great gifts for Christmas or any holiday, and all can be custom made upon request by emailing the tumbler lady 1@gmail.com. Also, you can purchase tumblers and mugs that I mentioned on UFO We Want to Know, aired every Saturday at 7 p.m. on KPVM TV channel 25.1. Thanks for supporting local Pahrump businesses. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. As I said before the commercial break, I was at Tivoli Village, and if you've ever been there, you'll know that there's a lot of shops and a lot of different things you can find in the high end. And I thought it was a very, very comfortable place to just shop. I was walking up and down from one end to the other. What I found most interesting is the position I was facing was south, and that's very important, south, because the aircraft that were flying over, they were going through and near the sun. And what I found so interesting about this is the aircraft, you can actually see the jets in the air. You can actually see them. Some of them, you couldn't see a jet. It was a streak. Now, whether or not they were too high up for me to see, I don't know. But let me show you these 9 photos, and then I'll talk you through them. They're going to be a minute each. So let's begin that show. Now, I circled it because I want to show you just how far up this craft was. Now, it is leaving a chemtrail, and you know, in the past we've talked about, well, if it's leaving a chemtrail, it's one of ours, okay? Now, I understand that and I agree with that. But in saying that, what if this was a alien craft, but they were just shooting off some kind of material to make it look like a chemtrail? That's my thinking. And I know some people say, well, you can't think like that because it's not fact. Well, science today is not fact, only until it's proven to the public. And they put it across as fact. But, you know, I don't have the best eyesight. You've heard me say that before. And you'll hear it again and again. But I want to make this clear. When these jets were flying in the air, I could see the actual wings. But I want you to take a look at this particular craft. It doesn't have any wings. It doesn't even have a fuselage. It is a black object cruising through the air. Now you can see there's two chemtrails. It splits apart when it leaves the area of the jet. It looks like it's maybe a quarter mile, I'm just guessing, from the actual object. But when I was looking up at the sky, I can actually see the jets in the front of the chemtrails. But on these particular shots here, I could not see these jets. The jets were usually silver in color. I couldn't see them. But these black little objects that are up there do not show any defining shape or wings. You know, of course, you can't say elevators or the other things, but wings should be able to be seen on this craft that far away. This next photo, which is the third one, you can actually see a shape to it. Now, I ask you, if I can see these craft standing outside, looking up, and I got my camera, it's on infinity, so there should be no fuzziness, okay? I am magnifying it, and I am mastering this photo over and over, which doesn't take away from the original object because I looked through a Power 5 magnifier and it did not change. This is exactly what it looks like before I magnified it. So what I did was I took the magnification from this point and I went into my filter system. Now people are going to say that, well, when you do the filter system, you really distort, okay? But take a look at this. It kept its shape. The shape didn't change. I got a nucleus there, which is what our scientists say is density or hot air. Density or mass. And the blue, the light blue around it, you see there's different shades. That is cold. They still can't figure that out. And until scientists come and say, well, we finally figured it out, I'm not going to change what they have said. I'm going to make that very clear. I don't try to be hard on scientists, as most people think I do. I simply tell it like it is. That if scientists are going to stick their neck out and say, this is what they believe it is, well, then I'm going to explain it that way until they change. The next photo, as you can see, it's closer. I remastered it. The shape is still there. Can scientists please tell me if there's a distortion there, why is the object staying the same? You got your nucleus, and as you zero in, you notice you get different outlines, different shades. And I believe the lighter it is, the colder it is. That is my science. And I'm not a scientist, but I've been studying this a long, long time. And since there's no university out there that I know of that you go to school for learning about UFOs, I think I can speak freely. And if there's any scientists out there that want to debunk that, they can write me in here at UFOWeWantToKnow@gmail.com. I'll be more than happy to talk with them. But until then, they're not going to give me any kind of excuse about what I'm saying is right or wrong. If they don't like what I'm saying, they can study it themselves. The next photo here is, I wanted to show you this. There's a round circle to your lower left on the bottom, and that's the craft that I caught. And I'll tell you what's interesting about this particular craft. this was very, very low to the ground. As you can see to the right of it, there's a building there. It wasn't really high up in the sky. I didn't see it, but when I was videotaping, I saw it there stationary. Now, this is actually taken from a video, and it was stationary, but it bobbled up and down. And by bobbling up and down, that told me it was not a helicopter and it wasn't an airplane, because it never moved. And I watched it on at least 3 different videos, and it didn't move. It was stationary. It could have been a probe. Who knows? If you take a look at this particular craft, I'm getting into probes, spheres, the difference between the two. I'll be talking about that a little bit later on. But this particular craft looked like a UFO. It certainly was not a bird. Birds do not stay stationary in the sky. And from one video to the other, it was in at least 3 videos. So that told me it was not a bird. Another interesting point about this particular craft, it wasn't until I zeroed in that I got a little bit better look at it, that I saw the haze that comes with these craft. I call that cold air still. I don't call it maybe the movement of the camera or some kind of reverberation that you may have, an anomaly in the sky. It gave out its brilliance. Now, from the beginning to the end, like the previous shot, it never changed its shape. It only got bigger, and it got a little bit more clear for us to see that this was some kind of UFO, a ship, something that travels in and out of our atmosphere. And make no mistake, this craft is in our atmosphere. This is not out in space. This was too close. Matter of fact, if I could have seen it with my eyes before the camera, I think I would have stayed there and continued videotaping, but I never saw it, so I took 3 or 4 videos of it, and that's the gist of it. On the next photo you're going to see coming up, I went to my software, and again, there is that same shape. Now, when I go through the software with it, you always notice on these craft that you have a more solid mass inside of it, and a little colorization, of course. But what I found so interesting about this particular craft that I've not found in any other craft, and you're going to be able to see it in the next photo when it comes up. I'm doing a minute at a time on each photo. But what's so significant about this photograph here is what's inside that I took. Now, a professional photographer can tell me more or less the answer to this. And again, I still got to get with a professional photographer. The interesting thing about what I'm finding inside, you can see the little dark spot there. Watch in the next photo that comes up. Watch what happens. Now, I did put an arrow, and it's kind of a clumsy arrow, but it's my arrow. And as you can see, there are 14 dots inside of that craft. I don't know how else to explain that. There's dots inside of it. If it's the pixelization that's forming that, I can't tell you. But I will tell you this, that I've never seen that in any other photo that I've ever taken. And it could be a design that's on the ship, maybe outside the ship, that I've caught since I lit up the ship a little bit. I don't know. But what do you think? Write me in at UFOWeWantToKnow@gmail.com and let me know what you think it is. Look at those 14 dots. There may be 12 or 14 dots. It's kind of hard to see. But when I got the magnification, I could count actually 14 of them. And what's interesting about that is, as I said, I've never caught that before. And now, more than ever, whenever I take these photos, I'm going to go back and I'm going to reverse what I did with the software, and that way I can maybe I can get that in other ships that I've already taken pictures of. I have the ability to backtrack and find out whether or not I have made an error in my judgment of how light I should make it as I'm going through the sequence. When you play with your software, you like to test it, which areas to lighten, darken, contrast, sharpness. There are certain sequences that I go through. I don't know if I went out of sequence with this. I'll be able to find it when I go back and I start eliminating the sequences, and I'll be able to find out if that's what happened. But if not, I may have discovered a way to find out what is actually marked on these particular craft that are flying through our atmosphere. Again, scientists are going to say they're not in our atmospheres. According to Arrow, there's no proof that they are in our atmosphere. In our atmosphere. Again, I disagree with Arrow. I disagree with their director, who's no longer there. We'll be back after this message. Hi, I'm Joseph from UFO We Want to Know, and I'm here to tell you about the tumbler lady at the farmer's market at Tractor Supply in Pahrump every Saturday from 8:30 a.m. to 12 noon. These tumblers are locally made and have specialized designer toppers. Great gifts for Christmas or any holiday, and all can be custom made upon request by emailing the tumbler lady 1@gmail.com. Also, you can purchase tumblers and mugs that I mentioned on UFO We Want to Know, aired every Saturday at 7 p.m. on KPVM TV channel 25.1. Thanks for supporting local Pahrump businesses. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with me. This part of the show, we're going to do a little Pentagon bashing, and I think it's so important because I've had people write in from Juneau, Alaska, and other areas, Los Angeles. I've had somebody from Reno, the Reno area, who wrote in. They were all curious about what happened to the 3 objects that were shot down over the Great Lakes and up in Canada and in the Yukon. We'll get into that right now because there hasn't been a lot of information on those 3 particular craft. But I'd like to show you the end of the Tivoli area. I want to show you another craft. And again, we're going to be getting into the same thing I had in the last sequence, is the fact that these craft were not showing jet airplanes going up there. They were showing objects that were leaving chemtrails. Now, it was a cold day, I have to give it that, and there could have been cold air coming off these craft. But in the last segment, I had mentioned that these craft that I took were coming from south, and I would say southwest, maybe, heading north. And if you know anything about the compass, you'll find that heading north, they were going to Area 51 or S4 or possibly Nellis, or even areas out there that we have test ranges that we have no idea what the names of them are. If people think that that's all we have, I'm sure you're wrong. This craft here was black in color. Now, we have craft that are black in color, but we don't fly them until at nighttime. That's the reason why we paint them black. Again, like the previous photo that I showed you, this craft had no wings, but it was leaving a chemtrail. Heading north towards where we do not know. There were a lot of craft up there. I don't have the photos, but it looked like a jigsaw puzzle up in the sky. In some points, there was a lot of crisscrossing of these craft. These darker craft seem to be close and then far away. So there's no, I'm not going to tell you that they were all real high in the sky, and the jet aircraft that were flying by didn't notice them. These were in between. They could have been low or high. But look at the shape of this craft here. It's really interesting that this craft did not look aerodynamic. yet it was going through our skies. As I've said in past videos, these craft do not need aerodynamics in our atmosphere to fly and to do ranges of Mach 20, Mach 25, 30. They don't need aerodynamics because they don't touch our atmosphere. I've said that again and again and again. I believe that they pull air in where we push air out, and that's why we get sonic booms. I started with my software on this particular craft. Again, do you see any nose there, any wings? Nothing there to indicate that this was aerodynamic in any way. I've said in past videos that you could fly a brick with the technology that they have. It starts to show the nucleus again, and maybe when they're flying as fast as they're flying, maybe this is the reason why we don't see that center nucleus. We only see the bulk of the outside of it. Maybe by pulling in our atmosphere, maybe that is what's the reason why they seem to be fat or round or diamond shaped. But when you look at the nucleus, you lose all that. You still got the cold air around it, which is the lightness of it. The dark is the density. And the last photo of this particular craft, that's what was flying up there. You saw the first one. You saw the chemtrail. Again, I believe that if we are flying alien craft up there and we are shooting off some kind of fake chemtrail, I believe that's what they're doing. I haven't heard any other ufologists claim that, but I'm claiming it today. Whether I'm right or wrong, I don't know. I'm not up there. I'm not in the craft, but I'm assuming because I've taken thousands of pictures now of aircraft flying overhead, and if I zero in and remaster, I can see the wings on these craft. So it's an anomaly itself. Now, in the beginning of the show, I mentioned Pentagon UFO bashing because in February of this year, the United States Air Force shot down 3 objects. Now, if you go to Google and you try to find out any information about it, you won't find anything. The last thing I found was over a month after the 3 shoot downs. And I saw information there that I hadn't seen before. I don't know if it was held back and not released, but I had gone through the internet over and over and over, literally hundreds of times I went over the internet to find more information about the 3 objects shot down, because I have friends in Alaska who said that there was a blackout. They still don't know anything. And to this day, if you look at their newspapers, you can't find anything on the internet. They're still stuck in February of 2023, which is ridiculous because we should have a little more clarity on what was shot down, since they used $400,000 heat-seeking Sidewinder missiles to shoot them out of the sky. Now, on the article, it stated that this is what one of the Air Force officers said he saw. Take a look at this. Does that not look like a Tic Tac? This was in the article. Here's an interesting thing. They said that it interfered with their electronics. It interfered with their fire control. They found no way of propulsion. They couldn't figure out how it was in the air. This is around 40,000 feet. So they deemed it dangerous for aircraft, and that's the area the aircraft do fly in. But I want to show you something that's really interesting. Stare at that picture for a second. And then we're going to go to another picture. And you're going to see something that's kind of odd. So this looks like a Tic Tac. It's a little more defined. Take a look at that. Another interesting little Tic Tac. This Tic Tac was taken in May 23rd, 2023. May 23rd, 2023. I took that picture. This picture was taken over Pahrump, Nevada. I'll say that again for you people in the aerospace industry. This was taken in Pahrump, Nevada, May 23rd, 2023. Now, I can't see any propulsion system. I don't know how it's staying aloft. I took this at a 45-degree angle. I'm going to be showing you on the next photo a closer up of it. And I used software on it. And I remastered it over and over and over. It never changed its shape. But unlike the previous photo of the other aircraft, I couldn't get any definition into it. It's a Tic Tac. Now, if you look, it's got a sharp ball in the front and a sharp ball in the back. Could it be that these were two orbs flying through the air? Now, what is over Pahrump, Nevada that is so interesting for an intelligent being to send over a probe or a craft? What is it about Pahrump, Nevada that I see all these UFOs? That's the question I like to ask the Pentagon, because it's nothing new. Now, of course, Arrow is no longer in business. As far as I'm concerned, the director has quit. He's no longer the director. If this is a sphere, the definition of a sphere is a round, solid figure or its surface, and every point on the surface is equal to the center, which is interesting because the Pentagon will not question the scientists when they work for NASA, which is interesting because the debunkers who work for NASA, they work for the Pentagon. They work for the government. And it's no wonder that the director of Arrow has said that his job is done, he's satisfied, and now he's going to retire and go fishing or whatever he's going to do. He was only given information that the government wanted him to get and no more. So I'm not going to actually bully the director of Arrow anymore. I've looked through a lot of data, and I've got to say that we're not, as taxpayer, we're not included in seeing what he saw. But what I can say is this: there are a lot of people, including Mr. Grush, the whistleblower, who have said that they were disappointed in the director for his comments on the matter. And it's important for us to take, and I'm not backpedaling on him. I'm just saying that I'm disappointed myself. But if the government is going to give him so much information, they're going to give him so much information to appease them. They're not going to give him a lot of information to hang himself. But this gentleman didn't seem to be too interested in the UFO phenomenon anyway. We're talking about Mr. Kirkpatrick. So have a nice retirement, Mr. Kirkpatrick, and a job not well done. That's my belief. I hope that if they replace him with somebody who is more forthright, maybe we'll get a better understanding of what's actually going on. On the next segment, we're going to talk a little bit more about what's happening in the government and what they're doing with our taxpayers' dollars. And I hope you hang around for the next segment. Thank you. Hi, I'm Joseph from UFO We Want to Know. And I'm here to tell you about the tumbler lady at the farmer's market at Tractor Supply in Pahrump every Saturday from 8:30 a.m. to 12 noon. These tumblers are locally made and have specialized designer toppers. Great gifts for Christmas or any holiday, and all can be custom made upon request by emailing the tumblerlady1@gmail.com. Also, you can purchase tumblers and mugs that I mentioned on UFO We Want to Know, aired every Saturday at 7 p.m. on KPVM TV channel 25.1. Thanks for supporting local Pahrump businesses. Thank you for staying with me. This is our last segment, and I have a very interesting video I want to show you. Now, this was taken in Pahrump, Nevada, and this was taken just the other day. Just the other day. I want you to see I'm going to be showing you 10 photos. And they may not be very, very clear, but they get to the point. And we're going to be looping the video so you can see it for yourself. So let's start with the first photo. Now, you can barely see a black streak in this photo, but this is an object that was actually traveling through the air. This is a search that I've taken off of video. And what's interesting about this particular craft is it was flying so fast that I tried my hardest to get rid of entrails or a double vision of the craft flying through. So it must have been going really, really fast. I'm estimating that it was probably going close to Mach 2, Mach 3. Next photo. I try to darken the skies a little bit when I do this. That way it gives you a better idea of the object, and maybe the object is not changing its shape. I do the best I can in doing that. Next photo. As you can see, we're getting a little larger and larger here, closer. We're getting rid of the second dot, which is, there was only one out there. But again, going so fast, my camera couldn't keep up. Next photo. I'm bringing it in more. You're starting to see a little reverberation around the top and the bottom and even behind it. But again, it's keeping its shape. Next photo. Now on this one here, I use my software on it, and that's why you see a little more clarity on it. Clarity that is very important because you have to see that this was a UFO. I don't use those other acronyms that the government uses. They use those acronyms to change the narrative. For 76 years, they've been calling them UFOs. Why change now? It's because they handed over the Navy? Who knows? These are UFOs. No other acronym is needed. And the last photo on this one, and this is what I got. You can see a little more clarity on it. It's got a solid base inside of it. Again, I claim that these craft are pulling in our atmosphere, and that's why it gives off this odd shape, this reverberation, if you will. But that's my belief. And again, I say it again, I'm not a scientist, but I've been studying this phenomenon for a long time. Now, when I was taking this video, this object here was passing what I think was a orb. Next photo. This was in the sky. And when you watch the video, you can actually see it past this object. So let's go ahead and next photo. It's getting a little bigger. And I do this again to give you an idea how far away it was. I do a general outline of how far away the UFO was. I believe this was an orb because it was standing still, it didn't move. And I caught it on several videos. That's why I believe it was an orb. It never moved. Next photo. Again, we're getting it bigger and bigger. And I want you to understand that there's no density. It shows no density in this orb. Next photo. And here's the interesting part about this. As much as I tried with my software, I could not darken the center mass of this object. I could not darken it. So that tells me that this craft was probably glowing a great deal. It's funny, I'm going to say it, you know, as I always say, I never see these objects. I was wearing my sunglasses, and I got some really good sunglasses that take away glare and sunlight. And I actually saw a flicker, and that's why I started videotaping this. Going on to the video. Look at the tree to the right, all the way to the right. There's an arrow there. You see that object flying out of there? That was the dark object. As you can see it, it's traveling towards the white object and then passes it. We're going to loop this. I'm going to ask my director if he can loop it at least 5 times. That is, ladies and gentlemen, this is in super slow motion. Let me say that again for you critics out there. This is in super slow motion, and that was not a blackbird flying through our atmosphere. If it was a blackbird, it wouldn't be moving. Take a look for yourself. And just to let you know, I have more videos similar to this with objects that shade of color passing through our atmosphere. Take a look at that. I'd like to hear from you, the audience out there. What do you think this is? Write me in at UFOWeWantToKnow@gmail.com and let me know what you think it is. And I know there's a lot of characters out there who say it's just a paper bag flying in the air or whatever it might be. But I want to talk to the more serious people out there. If you're as angry as I am about the government not allowing people to know the truth, and I'm going to ask my director, can you keep looping this while I babble here? I think it's important for the government to talk to people similar to me. They don't have to talk to me. I know that I'm not in the best gracious of likable people in their orbit. But I will tell you this. There are a lot of people who get videos similar to mine. And they don't play them a lot because once the media is told, stop playing those videos, they stop. But on my show here, you can see videos like this all the time. And if you missed any of my videos, just simply go to KPVM channel 25.1 and go to their archives. You can see them every single day. And since my personal channel, for some reason, on YouTube is shut down, and I think they're cowards for shutting it down. I don't know what I've said to make YouTube upset, but I can tell you this. There are different ways to see my videos, and YouTube is not the only way. This particular channel is good enough to carry all my videos. I've had past videos where people have seen my shows, and they ask me, where did you get all these UFOs? And I simply say, I just go out and take videos. I take photos. And for those of you who are interested in videos like this one here, and want to see me continue on making videos like this and photos, please write in at UFOWeWantToKnow@gmail.com. And I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. I've done that in the past, and I've got a lot of good comments. There's some people in there with some silly comments, but I try to ignore them. At the end of the video here, if you look at the white dot and you concentrate on it, as I shut off the camera, it does move a little bit, but it didn't move very far from that spot. Right there, it's going to start to move. That was the whole camera moving, but the white orb seemed to have moved a little bit. Can anybody identify what they're seeing on television? Again, write to me at UFOWeWantToKnow@gmail.com and ask me anything you like. I'll be more than happy to answer it. I've had people ask me if I would talk to certain groups. I'm more than happy to do that. I don't charge. They'll have to make it where I can actually go there and be there without interfering with my daily routine videotaping and photographing and getting ready for my next show. I do take sometimes 15, 20 hours a day to do my shows, and sometimes I only get 3-4 hours of sleep a day. But it's a passion that I believe it's worth it. Right over this craft. That's incredible. I believe that is a sphere. I can't be sure if it was a sphere. I know it wasn't a helicopter. I can hear the helicopters. We have a helicopter pad just, I believe it's a mile from my house. And I can hear them when they're starting up the helicopters. And when they take off, they make a pounding noise that is unmistakable. They're helicopters. This craft wasn't that far away from me. I was facing north from my home, and my home faces south in the front to north in the back. And I was just out there looking around, and I saw a little bit of I can only say like a glare, and I decided to start taking the video, and this is what I got. I wish I would have taken more videos of that, but what I try to do is I try to concentrate on where I saw the glare, and then I'll take another photo. With that, basically ends my show, and I want to thank two very special businesses. The first one is the Tumbler lady who is out there, and you can contact her to find out where her next showing is going to be. You can see there's a phone number on the bottom, 725-300-2570. You can call that number, and she'll be more than happy to let her know. She'll also take orders. She does a great job at making specialized tumblers, and also she does a great job at doing I can never say the word, so I'll just say chopping boards for preparing meat, and you can use both sides of it. It's food friendly. The second one is, and I hope I get this name right, it's Boozabilia, and the reason why they call it Boozabilia is I'm taking for the fact that they make these mugs from liquor, booze. And he makes lamps. And there's his phone number, 702-321-4346. Please give him a call. And as you can see, this is one of his lamps. You have a great weekend. Thank you for watching. Hi, I'm Joseph from UFO We Want to Know. And I'm here to tell you about the Tumbler lady at the farmer's market at Tractor Supply in Pahrump every Saturday from 8:30 a.m. to 12 noon. These tumblers are locally made and have specialized designer toppers. Great gifts for Christmas or any holiday, and all can be custom made upon request by emailing the Tumbler Lady 1@gmail.com. Also, you can purchase tumblers and mugs that I mentioned on UFO We Want to Know, aired every Saturday at 7 p.m. on KPVM-TV channel 25.1. Thanks for supporting local Pahrump businesses.